everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Molly, or I go by Mojo on the trail. Today I want to go through the backpack and all of my gear that I brought with me on the Appalachian Trail and show you everything that made it 2,200 miles with me, or at least everything that was in my pack when I finished the trail. I do first want to start off with like the clothes that I was wearing. So the shoes that I wore were the Ultra Lone Peak 8s. I got my first pair in Hiawassee and I stuck with those the whole way. I hiked 1,000 miles in the first pair, about 900 miles in the second pair, and this pair has maybe about 300 or 400 miles on it. I really liked the Ultra Lone Peak 8s, highly recommend. They're pretty comfortable, and I know a lot of people recommend getting different insoles. I didn't do that, and it seemed to be just fine. The shirt that I primarily wore was this Outdoor Research sun hoodie. I had this from the very beginning, and I wore it a lot when it was colder out, or just kind of like mild temperatures. When it got really hot, I slept in this and would wear it at camp when the bugs were out, just to have long sleeves on and stuff like that. But I really liked this. It's really lightweight fabric, dries pretty quick, so if you sweat in it, usually it'll be dry in the morning, and things like that. It does have a little hole in it. Let's see, right here. It does have just a little hole in it and a snag, but that's because that's where like my hip belt would buckle and it would always get caught, and I think one time I just wasn't careful and I ripped it out and it caused a little hole. But other than that, it's still in pretty good shape, I'd say. The back still looks good. Yeah, looks like it held up pretty well. The one downside to this is that no matter how many times you wash it, right when you start to sweat again, it starts to smell again. But I mean, that's gonna happen with a lot of clothes. So I primarily hiked in shorts. These are just Gymshark. I think they're called the Flex short, something like that. I wasn't really planning on hiking in shorts. I was gonna hike in leggings, but the leggings that I started out with ended up giving me a rash. I don't know if it was just the material like rubbing on my skin too much. So then I had these with me and I started wearing them just until I got a pair of hiking pants sent to me. And then I ended up actually really liking these. I liked hiking in them, so I continued to wear these pretty much the whole time. This is the second pair that I got. The first pair got a little bit too big when I lost weight, so I had to get a smaller size. I think they held up pretty well, even when I had to like boot scoot down a bunch of rocks and stuff in New Hampshire. No holes or snags or anything. I also wore this sports bra the whole time. Pretty much. It's a Patagonia Barely There sports bra. Really liked it. It didn't smell that bad even after days of sweating in it, so really like that. For socks, I wore the Injinji toe liner socks underneath of Darn Tough hiking socks. This is my third pair of the Injinji toe liners. I replaced these for the first time in Daleville, and then again in Gorham, New Hampshire. They would just get kind of worn out like on the foot pad right here, and then they would also start to smell really bad. So I replaced these a few times, but I really liked them. I think I got one blister the whole trail on the side of my big toe, and that was all. So I think these really do help with blister prevention. And as far as the Darn Toughs, I really like these socks. This is the second pair that I got. I also got these in Gorham, New Hampshire. The first pair, they're in my pack, but they ended up getting some holes because I wore them every day for 1,900 miles. So also just wore this little headband. It's a piece of a buff that I cut off, but yeah, pretty much wore this every day. And then my trekking poles. These are the same trekking poles I started out with. I honestly thought that I would probably get a new pair at some point, but I just never ended up getting another pair. They never broke or anything. A lot of the paint has chipped off and the tips are nothing. So you can see that. New Hampshire really did a number on the tips of my trekking poles, but I never really felt like I didn't have good grip or anything with them. I really liked using trekking poles. They saved me from falling and twisting my ankles so many times, so I highly recommend trekking poles. These are just the Trail Buddy ones from Amazon. They're like 40 bucks. Cheap aluminum ones, lasted me the whole way. Okay, now let's go into the pack itself. The pack that I carried with me on the entire Appalachian Trail was the 6 Moon Designs Minimalist. I really liked this pack. One reason is because it has this flight vest shoulder strap harness option, which is what I went with. I have kind of a background in trail running and wearing running vests, and so I really like that style. I really like having access to water just right here, not having to reach around and grab it. And it has a whole bunch of different pockets that I could store things in, a bunch of like hidden pockets. Like I would keep my pain reliever just right here if I ever needed it. But yeah, I really liked this pack. The only thing that ended up being kind of an issue was that eventually the hip belt got just slightly too big, and so I couldn't quite get it tight enough. I have every adjustment point tightened, like as far as it'll go, as far as the hip belt, and it just wasn't quite tight enough. So a lot of the weight was on my shoulders for the last few hundred miles of the trail, so that was kind of a bummer. But yeah, other than that, I really liked it. There really aren't any points where it was wearing out too much. On the bottom here, it has a little bit of wear, but nothing that degrades the use of it or anything. I think right here on this is kind of coming apart a little bit. There's a little hole there, but again, this is still secure and everything. So yeah, 2,200 miles and no really big rips or anything. So I think this pack held up really well. But yeah, now let's get into all the different pockets. Guess we'll start with the pockets that are on the harness, the vest harness. I carried a knife with me. At the beginning of the trail, I would wear this around my neck, and then I got pretty comfortable with the people that I was hiking around, and I didn't really feel like it was necessary to carry it around my neck anymore. So this eventually went in my food bag, and I primarily used it to cut cheese for my lunch. But I did really like having it. It's a pretty handy little knife. I also kept my headlamp in this front pocket. So I have the Nightcore NU25. I really liked this headlamp. It's rechargeable, so I would just charge it in town if needed. You can see the battery, how much battery is left by pushing that button, so that's really handy. Has a red light. I used that a lot at camp, not to disturb people while they were sleeping, things like that. And I liked the more ultralight shock cord. In this pocket, I would normally keep snacks for the day. So I still have some in there. I've got some fruit snacks and some energy chews. And then I also had this little temperature gauge that was kind of handy at the beginning of the trail when it was cold. And I had it like hanging on the pack right here. But eventually just got kind of annoying, so I just put it in the pocket and didn't really use it after that. On this side, I always kept a water bottle or water flask. This is a 500 milliliter Knock soft flask. I started out with a 750 milliliter bottle, and then I used that probably up until Vermont, and then it was just getting really gross because I would always put like powders and stuff in here, whether it was like electrolytes or caffeine powder or something like that. I would put that in this one, and so it just got impossible to clean, so I got a smaller one when I replaced it. But I really liked having this here and how convenient it was to be able to drink water right from there. This pocket was primarily trash. Oh, look, I still got a wrapper in there. So snacks that I would eat throughout the day, I would just shove the wrappers in here and keep them all together. And then at the end of the day, I would empty it into my larger trash bag that was in my food bag. In this hip pocket, I would keep my AirPods. I didn't always listen to music or podcasts or anything, but when I did, I like to have these handy so I didn't have to like dig around in my pack to get them out. I could just take them right out of this pocket and put one in my ear and be listening to something pretty quickly. I didn't have to stop. One trick that I found handy was that I would only listen to like one at a time, so that if one died, the other one was still charged, and then I would just switch them, so that for the most part I could always be listening to something if I wanted to. And these I would charge in town, and it would pretty much last me until the next town, so I didn't have to really worry about using my power bank to charge these. Also kept a little tube of sunscreen in here. I really didn't use sunscreen that much. We were in the Green Tunnel a lot. In Pennsylvania, we were in like the Cumberland Valley. I used this more, but yeah, I had it just in case. And then I also had this little beanie baby. His name is Chili. He came with me on this adventure, and he just lived in this pocket right here. In the other hip belt, I kept a little Swiss Army knife. It has just a little knife blade, a file, and then what I actually used this for was for the scissors. They were handy to have. I definitely used them quite a few times. Sometimes like the little drink packets wouldn't open for me very well, so I'd just pull out my scissors and cut it open. I cut my buff a couple times to make that headband, things like that, so the scissors were really nice to have. I also kept a bag of some of my electronics. I kept one of my power banks in this side pocket, so if I needed to charge anything during the day, I could do so. So I also had some cords in here. I have my phone charger. I have my watch charger. And then I also have a USB-C charger for this power bank itself, because sometimes we would go to a place where we could charge. So then I also had the charging block handy, because I really hated having to dig in my pack for this. If we just showed up to like a restaurant or a hostel or a market or something, and we were able to hang out for a few hours, I hated digging in my pack to my actual electronics bag because it was in the very bottom. So eventually I just started carrying this in the hip pocket so I could grab it quickly, plug everything in, and then get to the important part, which was eating town food. I also kept my Garmin InReach Mini 2 clipped to the front of my pack here. It stayed there all day. I never really turned it on during the day. At night I would turn it on and send a message to my husband and my mom and some other people as a little check-in message, and then I would pretty much put it back right away, except for that one time that I put it in my fanny pack and thought I lost it. Always put things back where they go. It's a really good lesson to learn. I also used a pea cloth. This isn't the one I started the trail with. I started with a different one, but the snap broke, so I had to replace it. It's just one from Amazon. I mean, I think it did its job just fine. I liked having this. It was better than having to pull out toilet paper every time I had to pee. So for a lot of the trail, I actually kept my tent in this side pocket here. But then when I switched to a trekking pole tent, it didn't fit, so I had to move things around, and I ended up keeping my sit pad here. I really liked having this sit pad. It was just really nice to pull out if we were sitting, like, I don't know, in the dirt or on concrete waiting for a shuttle to pick us up, or if it was raining outside. It was really nice to be able to sit down and not sit in like a puddle or on wet moss or something like that. So I kept this the whole time and I used it almost every day. I really liked it. Alright. Hi, Bandit. Hi, Bug. Hey, why don't you come here? Why don't you come up here and lay down? Lie down. Good boy. Good job. Okay. Alright, also in this pocket is my toothbrush and toothpaste. I just had this little collapsible travel toothbrush. I got a new one about halfway through. My mom sent me another one because my first one got kind of gross. And then a little travel size toothpaste. I also kept in here some Dr. Bronner's soap. I didn't use this as often as I thought I would, but it was really nice when I needed it. I had to do laundry with it a couple of times, like in Shenandoah National Park. They didn't have soap to buy, so I used this. I showered with it a few times in some like state parks and stuff like that to wash my hair. So it was really handy to have when I needed it. I just didn't use it super often. Also nice if you need to wash your hands for any reason. I used this. And then I had some floss and apparently some Q-tips in here too. Also in this pocket, I would keep my tent stakes. I'm pretty sure I started the trail with 9 tent stakes, but pretty quickly only had 7, so I don't know where those other 2 went. Somewhere in Georgia probably. I don't remember losing them, but I only have 7. But that's all I needed for my semi-freestanding tent, and then when I got the Durston, I only needed 4, so it wasn't an issue. These are just the stakes that came with my Sea to Summit tent, and I used them with my Durston X-Mid Pro 2 when I got that. Alright, I also kept my bear line and my rucksack in this pocket. I had different bear line, but on day 2 I got it stuck in a tree on Blood Mountain and I could not get it out. It was really sad and unfortunate and a good learning lesson, but when I got to mountain crossings the next day, I had to pick up more bear line, and this is all they had. So, kind of heavy, but it worked just fine for the rest of the trail. I didn't bother replacing it again. And then I have this rucksack from Hilltop Packs that came the whole way with me, and it held up just fine as well. Okay, the other side is where I kept my water system. So I had the Canuck Vesica 1 liter bottle, and I loved it. I used this the whole trail. I would only put water in this one, so I wouldn't put any powders or anything in this one, so that it didn't get all gross and nasty. And then I had this hydration tube that would kind of just hang out here on my shoulder strap, and then I would just drink from it. And it was really nice, really convenient. I didn't have to like do the whole reach around my pack thing in order to get water. And then I could also, like when it was in here, kind of just like feel for it and be able to kind of gauge how much water was left. So yeah, I really, really liked this. The hydration hose does have a hole in it, but that's pretty easy to replace. And so once the hole got in there, I just had to keep this locked so that it didn't leak on me, but it made it the whole way. I also had the Canuck 2-liter water bag. This came with me the whole trip. It does have a hole somewhere up here. I think it might be like right there. A tiny, tiny little hole that made it like if I laid it flat on the ground, it would leak. So then I had to start like hanging it at night and stuff, because I couldn't figure out where the water was coming from in my tent. Ended up being from this. But again, it started in like the middle of New Hampshire, so once I figured it out, I was just more careful with it and made sure that it stayed upright. But yeah, this is great. Really nice quality. I really like Canuck. They make good products. And then my water filter. I used the Sawyer Squeeze the whole time. I did get a new one in New York because the flow rate of my first one was getting really bad. So yeah, replaced it, but I really like the Sawyer, and then I got the little coupling. So yeah, really liked this. I kept it in a plastic bag, mostly because at the beginning of the trail, it would get really cold, and if your water filter freezes, it gets ruined. So I keep it in the bag and put it in my sleeping bag with me, and then this just made it so it didn't leak all over me. I kept my first aid kit in this side pocket, which looks like my Benadryl has exploded, so that's nice. I had some Benadryl. It has since been crushed and is now leaking all over, but that's what that was. I did use Benadryl a few times. I got stung by this weird caterpillar thing, and also I think I got stung by a bee or something on my ankle, so I took Benadryl a few times because of that. Some more Q-tips in there. I also had a huge roll of Leukotape, which I used a lot at the beginning of the trail, and then I thought I needed to keep this whole roll, and then I ended up not needing it, but I just didn't throw it away. So I have a lot of Leukotape that I would share with people when they needed it, so that was kind of nice for them, I guess. Another little baggie of some assorted painkillers or pain relievers, fever reducers. I also carried some aqua tabs. I used these a lot at the beginning of the trail when there were a lot of rumors about norovirus going around. I would filter my water and then, as extra precaution, put an aqua tab in there just to be safe. I did this all the way through the Smokies because there was a lot of rumors about norovirus there. And then after that, I don't think I did it again. I carried some thread and also a needle. I did use this a few times to patch a few things. My leggings started to get a rip in them, and then I think I sewed Ziggy's sock at one point and also Bebo's sock. So it was kind of nice to have this just in case. I carried a few extra O-rings for my Sawyer filter. I never ended up needing them, but I had them just in case. Sometimes they fall out or get lost or they break. I carried a tip key that I never used. I carried some gear repair tape. I did use this on a few things. I used it on my tent fly actually because it was starting to get a little hole in it. Have some moleskin, and then a few alcohol prep pads, and then a weird assortment of band-aids and things, and also some other moleskin patches, and I guess a Neosporin that leaked. So yeah, I didn't use much of this, but I had it just in case, so. Okay, outside pockets. This is where I kept my camp shoes. These are just Teva sandals. Really loved having camp shoes. I'd wear them in town, I'd wear them at camp. This is my bathroom kit. I have the Deuce of Spades trowel. I have some toilet paper. I have a few wet wipes. And I have some hand sanitizer. And then some feminine hygiene products in there. I also have a bandana in here right now. I just got this at Shaw's. Me, Bebo, and Birdie all got matching ones at the end of the trail. So that's in there right now. I also carried a pair of gloves with me. These are just like standard liner gloves, nothing special, but they kept my hands warm in Georgia and then in New Hampshire a few times. I really didn't wear these that much, but I was scared to get rid of them because if I needed them, they were essential. I carried my hat in the front pocket. I got this in Daleville, Virginia. The brand is Kavu. I really liked it. I would wear this usually like either when it was raining or when it had been like 4 days since I washed my hair. I'd throw this hat on. Very comfortable. I thought it was kind of cute, so I liked it. I also keep my rain jacket in this pouch for ease of access. I have a Columbia rain jacket that is their out dry material. Yeah, kept me dry when I needed it. Yeah, nothing too special. Super light. Like, there's not a lot to it. It's just really that outer shell. There is a little bit of wear on the back from wearing my pack, but other than that, it stayed waterproof the whole time. Yeah, I really like this jacket. And lastly, I think, oh no. I also carried these rain mitts with me the whole time, even though I only used them twice. Again, just one of those things that when you need them, you need them. And so I kept them, and they weigh like nothing. So, but they are REI Gore-Tex gloves. And the last thing in here is a Sea Summit bug head net. I didn't use this once. Ziggy wore his head net all the time, but I guess I have a slightly higher tolerance for bugs, and I just never wanted to get it out and put it on. So I carried it the entire trail, started in Georgia with it, but I never used it. All right, finally, let's get in the pack. All right, the first thing in my pack was always my food bag, or I guess the last thing I would put in there, just for ease of access. So if we stopped for a snack break or a lunch break, it was really easy to get to. This is the Hilltop Packs large food bag. I did have an issue with the first one that I got. The lamination on the inside started to come off, but they sent me a new one right away, free of charge. Super easy to work with, so I really like Hilltop Packs. I got the one with the spoon holder, so my spoon would live in there, and so it made it super easy to find. I didn't have to dig around looking for my spoon, which would have been annoying. But the spoon I have is just the Tokes titanium spoon. Yeah, I didn't miss that it wasn't a spork. I didn't mind that. Spoon worked pretty good for everything that I ate. I still have some snacks in there. I have a bag of empty Ziploc bags. I got made fun of for having this, but I thought that it came in really handy, and people would ask if I had extra Ziploc baggies, and I would give them to them. I always carried a few extra Ziploc bags because you use them for pretty much everything. So this was my bag of bags. It stayed in my food bag. And then I also had this koozie that I made for my rehydrated meals. I really only used this in the Smokies where it was really cold. Other than that, I didn't really use it to rehydrate my food. I used it more for storage of my lighter. So my lighter stayed in here, and then I would also keep some of my like multivitamins in there to remind me to take them at dinner time. Next thing is my tent. This is the Durston X Mid Pro 2-person tent. I got this in Gorham, New Hampshire. I was supposed to get it in Hanover, New Hampshire, but it didn't show up to the post office in time, so I had to bounce it to Gorham, New Hampshire. So I really only use this in Maine, but I really, really like it. It's super light and super easy to set up. Highly, highly recommend. Next, I would keep my Fanny Pack. I started out wearing this in Georgia, and then it got just kind of annoying to have it around my waist all day long, and it got hot in the summer, just got all sweaty and gross, so I ended up just starting keeping it in my pack. But inside, I would keep my ear warmer. I wore this when it was cold out to keep my ears warm, but I also wore it every night over my eyes, just to keep light out in the summer, and it just ended up being something that just helped me fall asleep. So I use this every single day. I also had another ear warmer that wasn't quite as hot as that one is. That one was merino wool, so when it was a little bit warmer out, but I still needed an ear warmer for my sensitive ears, I'd wear this one. I kept another scrunchie in there that I would use from time to time. And then I also had corded headphones as well as my AirPods. So I would listen to like an audiobook to help me fall asleep at night. And it would also drown out the sound of other hikers snoring. So I was scared to wear my AirPods like in shelters because I didn't want it to like fall out and like fall through the cracks and things like that. So I'd always wear the corded headphones, and then it also helped my AirPod battery last longer. So I really liked having both sets of headphones. Next is my cook pot. I have the Jetboil Stash. I really liked this. I like how it packs up. It's not the lightest stove and pot, but it just is so efficient. It boils water so quickly that I think it's worth it. I don't have a fuel canister in here right now because I couldn't take it on the plane. This is the stove that comes with it. And then I also just kept another bandana in there to like dry out the pot when I was done cooking, or use as like a napkin, or if I spilled water in my tent, I'd pull that out. I use it for all sorts of different stuff, so that's what was in there. Next, I would keep my mid layer. This is the Skygo Fleece mid layer. I really, really liked this. It's pretty light, and it kept me really warm on cold days. I would try like not to hike in this if it wasn't super cold so that I didn't sweat in it, because I actually really like to sleep in this a lot. So if I could get by with just wearing my sun hoodie during the day, I would, and then I would have this cozy sweater to put on at night. So now we're gonna get into the things that I keep in a dry bag, or my compactor bag. So things that I wanted to make sure stayed dry even if it rained. And the first thing is my puffy jacket. This is something that I definitely wanted to stay dry so that I'd have something warm at camp. I carried this the whole way. I loved it. It's Outdoor Research, super strand puffy jacket. Pretty lightweight for what it is, and yeah, I really liked it. Kept me warm when I needed it. This is my clothes bag. This is a Granite Gear a 12-liter stuff sack. And this is where I kept all my extra clothes. I had a pair of hiking pants that I would hike in if it was really cold. Like in the Smokies, I hiked in these. But then I pretty much just wore shorts the whole time. But I would sleep in these a lot. I also had another pair of Darn Tough socks that, again, these were pretty much just for sleeping, or I'd wear them in town while my other socks were in the wash. I carried this pair of shorts. I got these actually at Goodwill in Daleville, and then I carried them the rest of the way. I hiked in them for a while. And then I got a different pair of the Gymshark shorts back, and I stopped wearing these for hiking, and then I would either sleep in them or I'd wear them in town, things like that. Sometimes it was hard for me to find loaner clothes that fit, so I would carry extra clothes even though it was extra weight, just to kind of ensure that I had something to wear while my clothes were in the laundry. Also, if like we stayed at a hotel and they didn't have loaner clothes, it was nice to have something. And then I also carried this really light tank top the whole way. Again, it was just nice to have, especially if there weren't loaner clothes or if it was really hot out. Sometimes I'd wear that. I also had an extra sports bra. My husband brought this to me when I saw him in New York, and then I carried it the rest of the way. I liked having an extra one either to sleep in or, again, when I was in town. If I would go swimming in my other one and it didn't dry overnight, then I'd have an extra to hike in the next day. Also carried this AT buff. I didn't wear this for a really long time, but then I started to at the end, and I liked having it. And then lastly, I kept my pillow in here. This is the Outdoor Vitals backpacking pillow. I really liked this. It comes with these little loops on the pillow, and then I attached this shock cord so that I could put it over my pad and it would stay in place all night. I thought that was pretty handy, so that you don't like lose your pillow, doesn't, you know, fly away from under your head in the middle of the night and you have to go searching for it. So I really liked this pillow. Alright, I think we're getting close to being done, but the next thing was my little Ditty Bag. I kept my glasses in here, contact solution, one of these Rawology cork massage balls, a tiny little hairbrush that had a mirror, my contact case, tweezers, fingernail clippers, a tiny little screwdriver. This one's super weird, but the screw came out of my sunglasses, and I had to go to Walmart and like scour Walmart for a eyeglass repair kit, and I finally, after asking a few employees, finally found one, so I wasn't going to get rid of it in case it happened again. So I have a tiny little screwdriver. Just a handful of extra hair ties in case mine broke or I lost them. Next is my sleeping pad. I have the Thermarest Neo Air X-Lite. This lasted the whole trip. It didn't get a hole and have any issues. Really liked this sleeping pad. Next is my actual electronics bag. In here I kept another USB-C to USB-C cord. I really liked having two so that I could charge both of my power banks at the same time. I had two of these Nightcore 10,000 milliamp power banks. I put stickers on each one because a lot of people have these, so that if we were all charging in the same area, I could tell which ones were mine. And then I also had a few extra GoPro batteries. So I had 3 GoPro batteries total, and then this battery charger, so I could charge 2 of them at the same time, which is really handy. And lastly in here, I did have this Flex Tail air mattress pump, and I was actually really kind of embarrassed to have this. I don't know why. I thought people would judge me maybe for using it instead of blowing up my pad like everyone else, but I loved this thing. I think blowing up my air mattress is one of my least favorite camp chores, and so having this was really nice. Ziggy would borrow it pretty much every day since we had the same Thermarest pad, and then Style would borrow it a bunch, and yeah, anyone who had a Thermarest I let borrow this because I had the right adapter for them, so it was really nice to have. I went with the one with the rechargeable battery. So yeah, the USB-C just plugs right into there, and then you plug it into your wall charger, and I'd have to do that, I don't know, every like 3 or 4 towns. Like, the battery lasted a long time, surprisingly. So I really loved this thing, and I will forever bring it on every backpacking trip I go on, even if it's just an overnight. And finally, the last thing in my pack is my sleeping quilt. I used the REI Magma 30-degree trail quilt for a lot of my through hike. My mother-in-law brought this when she visited me in Virginia. I think I was in like Glasgow when she came, and I used this the rest of the trail, and I really liked this quilt. It kept me really warm. It was a lot lighter than my other one. I think it weighs like 17 ounces or something like that. Yeah, I really liked it. And I guess the final thing in my bag is this trash compactor bag. I started out with a actual pack liner and then switched to this in Vermont. Alright, that is everything that was with me when I finished my Appalachian Trail hike. I'll try to put some links in the description to some of the gear that I used, since I didn't talk about all the technical specs or anything, so you can find those out for yourselves if you're interested. But if you have any questions about my gear or any recommendations for other things that I might like for my next trail, let me know those in the comments. But like always, thank you so much for watching, and mighty fine hiking, everyone. Bye!